The last component of stuttering usually doesn't have anything to do with the speech mechanism at all. So when we look at part word repetitions, whole word repetitions, block, prolongations of sounds, all of those have to do with how we're actually making words and sounds. But there's this fourth component to stuttering that doesn't have to do with that at all. And it's called a secondary behavior or a learned behavior. And typically, as a young kid or an adolescent, when you're trying to get out of the actual moment of stuttering or trying to move through a repetition or through a block, we end up doing extra things with our body, just like I'm using my hand right now to help the word come out. And then as a person who stutters, you're like, wow, that hand motion really helped me get the word out, so I'll use that next time. Well, eventually that hand movement stops working. So maybe the next thing you use to try to get a word out might be an eye blink or a head shrug. And so these learned behaviors, as you're in the moment of stuttering, you try all the ones that used to work. So you might use a hand movement and then an eye blink and then a head shrug. And it becomes these extra movements that don't have anything to do with the repetitions in speech, but they are really distracting to your communication or to your listener. And they make it harder for communication to happen because there's so much extra happening with your body. So with secondary behaviors, sometimes we're not even aware that they're happening, and in therapy we can use different ways to bring your awareness to it and get rid of them slowly. So really what's left is just the pure speech differences, because they can be easier to manage. So why don't you go ahead and read, and we'll see if any of the secondaries that have sometimes popped up in your speech pattern come up, and some of those have been some movements with your jaw, or maybe some hand movements, or once in a while some shuffling with your feet. And we've talked about them before, but I know it's hard to keep them in mind when you're talking.
Demonstrate with what causes stuttering. These are 4 factors most likely to contribute to the development of stuttering. Genetics is approximately 60% of those who stutter have a family member who also does. Child development, children with other speech and language or developmental delays are more likely to stutter. Neuropsychology, recent neurological research has shown that people who stutter process speech and language differently than those who do not stutter. And family dynamics, high expectations, and fast paced lifestyles can contribute to stuttering. Stuttering may occur when a combination of factors comes together and may have different causes in different people. It is probable that what causes stuttering differs from what makes it continue or get worse.
Good job. I saw 3 different types of little secondaries that you did. Can you guess what they were?
Hands.
That's hand.
Jaw, maybe.
That's shoulder.
Shoulder. Eyes.
I wasn't, actually that probably did happen, but since you were reading, I didn't take note of it. But a little lean forward, because sometimes when you are in a block or a repetition, the actual physical movement of like leaning forward to help the word come out. So I noticed some hand posturing, a little bit of a shoulder twitch, and then sometimes that lean forward to help the word out. And you know, the thing about learned secondaries or secondary behaviors are that sometimes they help, so they're really reinforcing. And it makes sense that when you're trying to get momentum in your speech, momentum through your body might actually help it. So they are hard to get rid of. It was interesting that we saw a couple different ones there.